The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
And welcome into the Wicked Weed studio. I'm Tank Spencer, Jeremy Greene alongside. Check out our friends at wickedweedbrewing.com. Wicked Weed Brewing, drink different. Time to talk some NFC West win-loss projections for the 2021 season. We believe that this is the best division in all of football, correct?
Clearly. There's no doubt this is the best division in football.
All right, I just want to make sure we're on along the same lines on this one. The LA Rams, San Francisco 49ers, Arizona Cardinals, and the Seattle Seahawks.
Three of you fan bases are about to like what I say a lot. One of you will not.
Give you three guesses which one it is, and the first two don't count. Let's get into it here. Let's talk about the 2021 win projections for the LA Rams. Rams are the cream of the crop of this division, in my opinion. They went out and got the quarterback in Matt Stafford. And now, I mean, people are talking about MVP with Matt Stafford.
The last I saw, he was the third most likely player to win the MVP, according to Vegas. Mm-hmm. I think that is going a little overboard.
Well, I mean, he has a lot of weapons to work with. This offense is going to move really well, we expect. And, I think they're not going to have a hard time outscoring most of their opponents this year with that defense behind them.
According to Pro Football Focus, Matthew Stafford was the 14th best quarterback in the league last year, and that was with the Lions. Mm-hmm. He's going to be a legitimate high-end quarterback. I think MVP is going a little overboard.
Right.
Especially with how involved I think Cam Akers is going to be, how good I think this defense is going to be. That being said, I have very high hopes for the Rams. I look at the schedule. There's a lot to like about the schedule.
Mm-hmm. You open up against Chicago.
Win.
So that's a win right off the bat. Then you do have a tough three-game stretch from weeks 2 to 4. You got the Indianapolis Colts on the road. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. And you got the Arizona Cardinals at home. We're going to learn a lot about this team in the first 4 weeks of the season.
Oh, it's a growing period. You're going to see you're going to see what this team is at that point.
Right.
And I still think they're going to win 2 of those 3 games. I really do.
Oh, I believe so. I believe they'll get a win at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've already predicted that. And then the Arizona Cardinals, I think, is a prime game for them to win. I'm not saying they can't beat the Indianapolis Colts, but it's going to be hard to go on the road and get that win. Indianapolis is a team that I don't ever want to see on my schedule, regardless of what team I am in the NFL.
I like that team. However, I'm looking at the Rams schedule right here in front of me, and after the Arizona game, there's a lot of damn wins in a row. Right. At Seattle, win. At New York, win. Detroit, Houston. I look at they're going to win one of Tennessee or in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. I mean, is there any shot that half of these teams actually beat the Rams? I mean, Jacksonville, no. Minnesota, I think Seattle, either time. Houston, Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
No,
There are a lot of wins on this schedule. Absolutely, but there are going to be some tough slogs throughout the season. That 3-game stretch that we talked about at the beginning of the season. Then you got Tennessee, San Francisco. You get the bye week, but then you got to go to Green Bay. Those are all going to be 3 real hard games to pick up in a row. And then you got to close the season out at Baltimore and then with the San Francisco 49ers.
I still look at this team and just I don't see any way that they don't win this division.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's too many questions with the Cardinals, too many questions with the 49ers. I think both of those teams are playoff teams.
Yes.
But I don't see a way that the Rams don't win this division.
I think there are 3 playoff teams in this division, in my opinion.
I mean, you got three teams with double-digit wins. You got the 49ers and the Rams at 14 wins apiece.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, you've got them losing to your fucking Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC Championship.
Of course I do. It's going to be a revenge game. for the early season loss.
Yeah, that's how you see it breaking down. Yeah, guess what I don't. I have the LA Rams in the Super Bowl. I do have them losing in the Super Bowl to the Bills, but I do have them in the Super Bowl.
Right. It's not going to surprise me. I think at this point it will be somewhat of a letdown for the LA Rams if they don't make the Super Bowl this year. And
I would agree.
And when the expectations are that high, you always just, you always wonder if they can pay off on it. But if there is a team out there that can, I believe it's the LA Rams.
I do too. I mean, I just look at this team and there's so much talent. As long as you can avoid the injury bug and you can get Matt Stafford acclimated pretty quickly, I think the schedule's beneficial. Of even if he's not firing on all cylinders, I still don't see a way that you're not 5-3 after the first 8.
Right.
Going into that second half of the schedule. I really like this team, and I'll be honest with you, I think I've got them at 11-6, and that was with me trying to be overly rational and not have too many teams that are over 12 wins. I easily could see them at 12 or 13 wins. I could see them being the best team in the NFC as well.
Yeah. I had them at 14 wins on the season, and I don't think that's too much of a stretch.
I don't either.
The Rams are going to be one of those teams, again, that you don't want to face no matter who you are. I expect big things coming out of LA this year, and they definitely have a chance to do the same thing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that did this past season and play in the Super Bowl that they are hosting. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene. 2021 win projections for the Los Angeles Rams. Hit that subscribe button so you see all of our win-loss projections, team by team, right here in the Sportsocracy. Once again, we are in the Wicked Weed studio, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different. My next question about the NFC West is who to slot in the second spot. Who do I think is going to be in the second spot in this division? Honestly, it's probably closer than I would like to admit with your 2020 best team in the NFC, Arizona Cardinals. But number 2 on this list for me is the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco 49ers, they made the big move in the draft to get the quarterback of the future. They still have Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster at the moment. I don't think that's going to change, but you do.
I think it can change. I think the amount of money they're going to pay Jimmy Garoppolo, the ability to carry that forward, I see a path that nobody seems to be talking about that Trey Lance could be the starting quarterback of this team week 1. Bringing in Nate Sudfeld. It's just a lot of things that in a vacuum, they don't seem like a big deal. And then you realize how close to the cap they are next year, having to redo a deal for Warner. They've only got 30 guys under contract, and I think they've got, what did I say this morning, $12 million?
$12 million.
Against the cap. I could easily see them looking at that unguaranteed $25 million of Jimmy Garoppolo just going, do we though?
Yeah.
A lot of injury history. Is he actually that much better than Trey Lance right now? I thought Jimmy was overrated for a long time. They don't ask him to do a lot, and he's fine at that when he's healthy. I think it makes me nervous when you've played this many seasons, you've been hurt this many times. Makes me a little nervous. Here's the thing, though. I don't care which one of them plays. I still think they're an 11, 12-win team that makes the playoffs. With Trey Lance, with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't care.
I'll agree with you because looking at their schedule, I see 9 immediate wins on this schedule.
Lions.
Right.
Eagles.
Yeah.
Seahawks. Bears. Jaguars. Bengals. Bengals again. Bengals suck.
Minnesota Vikings.
Houston Texans.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't care if it's Trey Lance. I don't care if it's Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't care if it's Jimmy Smits. I don't care if it's Tank Spencer. Whoever the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers is against that schedule, that's a whole lot of
wow, winning.
No doubt about it. They have a couple of spots. Their schedule is so well spread out.
It is.
They don't have chunked up sections of the schedule where they have rough game after rough game after rough game.
The only time in the entire schedule that I see they play 2 good teams back to back is the Rams and the Cardinals in the dead center of the schedule. And you got the Bears on one side of that and the Jaguars on the other side.
Yeah.
And guess what? Both those games are at home, too.
I believe in one of the breakdowns I saw earlier today, it was something like San Francisco has the 5th easiest schedule coming into 2021. And that's bad news for a team that went to a Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. And, oh, yeah, by the way, 78% of their team is now healthy.
Yeah. And it's also a crazy indicator when you look at how good this division is. That's 6 of their games and their schedule's still this easy. That means everything outside of it is not that difficult. I just look at San Francisco as they're clearly a playoff team to me. The AFC, I think there are only 8 teams that could make the playoffs. The NFC has 11. There's about 5 that I don't see a path that they don't make the playoffs, and the 49ers are one of them.
Yeah, they went through they went through that same sort of thing that Tampa Bay went through this year, just trying to figure out how to bring back the crucial pieces to making this thing work, and they did it. I mean, with Kyle Juszczyk and Trent Williams, I like this team a whole lot, and I think the sky is the limit.
Looking at your projection, you've got them at 14-3, tied with the Rams, losing the tiebreaker, and you've got them, sweet God, losing to your stupid Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the fucking playoffs.
That's right. World beaters.
Good God. How do you find a way for Tampa Bay to beat everybody in the playoffs? I feel like it's the 5th time I've said you have them losing to Tampa Bay in the playoffs.
Does anybody know how that works?
Oh, God.
I'm a fan of the team that just won the Super Bowl, and they're bringing everybody back. Why are they not the favorite for everybody?
What's our shtick? Hashtag no homer? Yeah, you're doing it wrong. Looking at mine, I've got them in the divisional round losing to the Rams. I've actually got them winning the division. They're 13-4 for me. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I did this, I had the thought that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be the starter.
Yep.
Even if you told me they cut Jimmy Garoppolo on the high end of this spectrum, I still don't see how this team doesn't go 11-6. I really don't. Trey Lance backed up by Nate Sudfeld. Fine.
Right.
Cool. They may not win the division. They'll still make the playoffs. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I wouldn't like them better in the playoffs with Trey Lance because I'm just so scared of health with Jimmy Garoppolo.
It's just not a gamble that I would be willing to take if I were them. I understand the money, the cutting Jimmy Garoppolo loose could save you some money for next year. You'll be able to sign guys next year with that increased cap space, but I'm not taking a risk on it. If I think I got a shot at a Super Bowl right now, I'm not hinging my hopes on a rookie quarterback.
Well, and my thought is that I'm getting out in front of it because my fear is that you have Jimmy Garoppolo for 10 weeks, then he gets hurt, and you're trying to break in a rookie as you're coming down the playoff stretch. I'm not sure that I wouldn't rather just swallow the frog, deal with that early cake-ass schedule, and give him 6 to 8 starts against teams that are just flat out not better than you. You go in with Lance, this is your guy for the future. I mean, I see the merits to both. I'm not saying this is a definitive. It's just the more I've thought about it, the more I think I would probably just roll with Trey Lance week 1.
Right. It's going to be a dogfight at the top of the NFC West between the LA Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. There is no doubt about it. I'm Tex Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene. We are in the Wicked Weed studio each and every weekday morning at 9 a.m. for the Sportsocracy. Hit that subscribe button as well so you see all of our videos and content as they come out. Don't forget also to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thesportsocracy. I just can't get your Arizona Cardinals anywhere higher than 3rd in this division.
Oh, I can. I can see them win the division.
I cannot. I'm really trying to, but they're just a team that has a lot of unknowns for me, and their schedule's not great.
Well, let's get into it. The Arizona Cardinals.
Cardinals were Jeremy's 2020 NFC best team. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. I tried to tell you coming into the season that they were going to be right around that 8-8 mark. They were going to be just about a 500 team. And now I think they're not going to be around middling, but they are going to be the third best team in this division.
I disagree with you. Record-wise, they might be because I don't like their schedule compared to what San Francisco has the easiest schedule in this division.
Absolutely.
Looking at the Cardinals schedule, I do see how you could think they would end up third in this division. I just like this team so much.
I mean, the team is nice. You've got a lot of nice pieces on the team. You know, J.J. Watt comes in to help out. You got veteran leadership now. A.J. Greene comes in. I still don't know. Are we done with Larry Fitzgerald? Is he going to play this year?
I think he's going to retire. It just seems like they're doing a lot of moving on without him, so I'm going to assume.
Right. They just kind of keep us rolling on here. But, I mean, this is a team that's going to face a daunting schedule from week 4 all the way to week 11. There's not no doubt winner in there for me.
The Houston Texans. There's no damn doubt. They will beat the shit out of the Houston Texans.
I missed that one. Excuse me.
They'll beat the shit out of the Carolina Panthers, too. 100%. They'll beat the hell out of Seattle in Seattle. I don't care. Seattle's worst team in this division is not close.
Okay.
You have that offensive line where you're counting on Brandon Shell to be one of your tackles. And I have J.J. Watt and Chandler Jones. Advantage. Best team in the NFC in 2021, Arizona Cardinals.
You start out in week 4, though. I mean, obviously the first 3 games, the first game against Tennessee on the road, I think you're going to lose that one just because it's Nashville at home.
Well, and the home field advantage for Tennessee is not as great as people make it out to be. Plus, you're breaking in a new offensive coordinator, first time ever calling plays, and I get Kyler Murray and 84 weapons that newly made secondary has to stop. 84. I'll be honest with you, if that game was in week 10, I'd probably agree with you. Week 1, I look at there's more consistency with the Cardinals.
Okay.
There's more things more similar pieces. I think they will win that game. I think they will beat Minnesota. They'll beat Jacksonville.
No
They'll be 3-0 going into the Rams.
Yep.
Then from week 4 to week 11, you need to go about 500. So there's 8 games in that stretch. You've got 3 that I think are, I'm not going to say give me wins. There's not a gimme win in the NFL. But I think you should win. So let's say you go 3-5 in the way I'm seeing it. Let's say you go 3-5 in that.
Right.
You're 6-5 going into that last stretch. And you've got the Bears and the Lions and the Cowboys team that I don't really know what to do with. And Seattle, who I think is going to be so far out of it that you should be able to win that game too.
Right.
So for me, your baseline here is, 10-7? That's the lowest I could see them being.
Agreed. But again, I don't think it's going to be enough to be in that top 3 or that top 2 in the division between LA and San Francisco. That stretch is just, yes, Arizona is a better team than Carolina.
Yes.
They should win that game. They should beat Seattle. But going on the road to Seattle is tough.
It is. And it could be raining sideways and gray and make you all sad and want to get back on a plane and go anywhere the fuck else the way that Seattle tends to do.
Now, it's a great way to end this this little hard stretch.
Because the team's bad. I just look at the team and say they're bad.
But worst case scenario, I mean, I can see 6 losses in that stretch.
I don't. I don't see it. I have believed more in this team than you have from Jump Street. You've got them at what, 11-6?
11-6.
You've got them 11-6 going into the playoffs and losing to the Rams in the divisional round.
Yep.
They beat the Packers for you?
Yes.
Yes. So you got them beating the Packers in the wild card round of the playoffs. In Green Bay.
Yes.
That's aggressive.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the greatest playoff history. We know this, right?
Yeah, and by then he might have killed half of the front office.
No
looking at my projection, it's weird to me that you have this team that I'm so high on going further in the playoffs than I do. I'm at 11-6 as well. They actually lose the tiebreaker to the Rams in my scenario, and then they lose in the wild card round to the 49ers. I think they're going to struggle in the playoffs just simply because they haven't been there before. But this is a team that's very much on the rise. I think this is one of the best young teams in the NFL. There's just a lot to be excited about with the Cardinals. And then you've got vet guys like Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. For the first time in a long time, I can genuinely say it's an exciting time to be a Cardinals fan.
Absolutely, and there are going to be a lot of wins on that schedule this year for the Arizona Cardinals. Just, again, they play in the toughest division in football, and I don't know that it's going to be anything other than a wild card spot for them in the playoffs.
And that's what I think it'll be. I agree with
improvement
that.
is improvement, right?
The Rams are the safest team in this division. I think the Cardinals might be the team with the highest upside.
Okay. I'm Tex Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene. 2021 win-loss projections for the Arizona Cardinals. We're in the Wicked Weed studio. WickedWeedBrewing.com. Drink different.
Underdog.
Do you think the veterans that they brought in are going to be able to make it the rest of the season? J.J. Watt, A.J. Greene. You don't have any doubts about that? Wishing that they could have brought in some, any kind of, improvement to the Seattle Seahawks. Win-loss projections. Here we go. Last year was the year that Jeremy Greene tried to tell us all that the Seattle Seahawks were not going to do shit. Now,
how many games to win the playoffs?
Get it. I get it. They still were at the top of this. Yeah, they were still at the top of this division last year. You were a year early because this is the year, I believe, that the wheels fall off for Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. This is a team that just didn't get better. In fact, you can make a case that they got worse from last season to this season. Yes, they still have amazing weapons at wide receiver. We understand that. Yes, they still have Russell Wilson, who can win a lot of games. They brought Chris Carson back. But the offensive line, did they really do a lot to upgrade it? Gabe Jackson? I mean, he's an improvement.
He's an improvement. I think Stone Forsythe might end up starting at right tackle.
Okay.
Which would make me like this team better. Mm-hmm. They think Stone Forsythe can be a left tackle. So I won't be shocked if he gets on the field. He was a guy I was really high on in the pre-draft process. Mm-hmm. The problem that I have with Seattle is very simple. They're thin as hell. Like, if this is a team that goes let's say they go half of the injuries that San Francisco had last year, they would immediately be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Because once you get into the second, third string of this team, it gets frightening in a hurry. And there are a lot of former Jets that I just so happen to know pretty well. You don't want to see many of those guys playing. And all the instability with Russ, I think that's been kind of askewed at this point. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that I don't particularly like. There's been a lot of misses in the draft from L.J. Collier to Rashad Penny. I was not high on the Jordan Brooks pick, but he played equivalently well to Patrick Queen last year.
He did.
I just look at this team, and I don't love the roster, and then they get this one thing that I really don't like.
What's that?
They got the schedule of a division winner. And unfortunately, I don't think they're the best team in this division any longer. Mm-hmm. So you start at Indianapolis. That's a loss. Tennessee.
Loss.
I think probably a loss there too. Then you have to go to Minnesota and at San Francisco.
One of those is a loss.
At least. I think best case scenario, you're 1-3, and then you have to play the Rams, the Steelers, the Saints, and the Jaguars. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'll win the last two of those. There's a possibility that you're 0-6 going into those games.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that's what I think is going to happen. Having Russell Wilson, you're going to win a game or two out of that. Mm-hmm. I don't see a path that you're better than 2-4.
No.
Because you play 4 really tough teams on the road. You get Pittsburgh early, so Ben's arm won't have fallen off yet. Mm-hmm. And it's a primetime game where they tend to play pretty damn well.
And I got lots of questions about that Seattle defense. And you look at this schedule, and they got a lot of teams that can put up points.
Well, and here's the thing. Biggest knock on them is the secondary. Mm-hmm. You have to play Carson Wentz, Ryan Tannehill, at Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, Matt Stafford, Ben Roethlisberger, what the fuck ever they're going to do in New Orleans, Trevor Lawrence. Right. That's not even the side of it that scares me. After the bye, it's Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, Ryan Fitzpatrick, the San Francisco situation. Mm-hmm. Most likely Deshaun Watson, Stafford, Justin Fields by that point, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of quarterbacks that can sling the ball, and your biggest weakness is your secondary.
Right. I don't see a whole lot of wins for the Seattle Seahawks here. My prediction, I've got them at 7-10, 6-11.
You have them at 6-11.
6-11.
You have them at 6-11, last in the NFC West, and not to, rain down here, but your first-round pick is owed to my 2021 AFC champion New York Jets.
Oh, now who's being a homer?
No, we're not the AFC champions. However, I will say this. I'll say this, and I want this on record that I said this. Because my breakdown, I got them 6-11 too. I also have that pick in the top 10.
Yeah.
You remember when Seattle made this trade, and I said, "No, you're going to regret that you did that."
Yep.
Well, you have to pay the piper, and this is going to be the year because I don't see how even the most rational fan cannot see how they have roster deficiencies that the other three teams in this division don't. Now, am I saying San Francisco could go through another injury-plagued year and wind up behind Seattle? Yes, that is in the realm of possibilities. I don't see any way you're better than the Rams. I don't see any way you're better than the Cardinals. And so long as San Francisco stays healthy, I don't see any way you're better than them.
Yeah.
And so this is the problem with paying for a guy like Jamal Adams. They treated it like that was the one problem they had. It's not. You had multiple roster issues. And when you start giving up first-round picks like that, it takes away your ability to add players and fix holes and fill needs. And that's where they're at. Do you not think they could have used that 23rd pick that the Jets used to trade up to get Ali Vera Tucker? You don't think that would have added a player?
Oh, yeah.
Don't think they could use that third rounder? Don't think that Bradley McDougal would have been fine as the safety? Because I do. And that's exactly what I said when you made this trade. I had watched years of Jamal Adams. He's a tremendous player. He was not great last year, and he wasn't on the field enough. So you take all the capital that you gave up, he has to be the best safety in the league. You have to re-sign him, and he knows that. This is the same problem the Jets had. We knew we were not one piece away. Now we traded you the headache because, yes, the player's great. He wants to get paid. And if you don't pay him, it's going to be one of the worst trades in NFL history. And this is what I tried to tell you. Everybody said, "Oh, Jeremy hates Seattle." No, I'm not fond of the city because it rains all the time and I hate rain. But other than that, I love Russell Wilson. Right. There are players on this team that I really like. It's not a hate on Seattle. I've seen this coming for, 12 months now? It wasn't that hard to figure out.
And I just don't
I was just a year early.
Right, and I just don't see how you're going to string together a lot of wins. I mean, this is a team that is going to battle for a 500 record. I don't think they
over
get 500.
I don't think they can get to 500.
No, I don't think they can either because I look at the schedule and I go between Indianapolis, Tennessee, San Francisco, L.A., Green Bay, Washington, San Francisco again, Arizona again, Rams again. I mean, you got 9 easy losses on there that if Russ ain't cooking as much as he should, it's going to be a tough year for the Seattle Seahawks. And I think their reign at the top of the NFC West has come to an end, sadly enough.
10 of their 17 games this year are against teams that I have making the playoffs. That's an aggressive schedule. There's only one team I can think of that plays more teams that I have going to the playoffs than the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah. 6 wins, 7 wins, maybe that's a little too low, but it ain't by much.
I don't think it is too low.
I don't think so either, and I really want that to be the different case. You also have to think, remember that home field advantage there in Seattle that they normally have? They're not going to have a lot of fans in the stands. So
we'll see. I still maintain I think everybody is, but
it's
we're on a new
Seattle.
Shit.
Remember, it's Seattle.
That's fine. We're on a new shit.
Keep that in mind.
I told you that on
if they don't burn the stadium down first.
Yeah, I told you on January 22nd. We're on a new shit. Guess what? As of the middle of May, we're on a new shit.
Seattle Seahawks is going to be a tough year and the end of the Russell Wilson era, I believe, because they end up having a real bad season this year. Might as well just call it quits and trade him in the offseason.
And get the draft capital that you lost to the Jets and rebuild the team.
Absolutely.
I'm afraid this could be Pete Carroll's last year, too. I don't see him sticking around for a rebuild as a 69-year-old coach.
I'm Tex Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene, the 2021 win-loss projections for the Seattle Seahawks. The NFC West is the toughest division in football. I'll say it again. San Francisco, L.A., Arizona, they've got the stranglehold, in my opinion, on the top of this division. It's going to be one of the most fun races to watch throughout the entire year.
I agree.
There is no doubt about it. If you have not yet, join our Patreon community, patreon.com/thesportsocracy. Check us out on all of the social medias at The Sportsocracy. Be sure to subscribe to the channel as well so you get all of our content as it goes out. Here, coming up next, we are going to move on, obviously, with the win-loss projections out of the way. Our next little project going to be complete off-season grades for each and every NFL team. We got it all sorted out for you in the playlist here in the Sportsocracy. We are always in the Wicked Weed studio, wickedweedbrewing.com. Drink different.